is that there is hope. You're not stuck. You have options available, because if you are concerned today, what is it going to be 60 days from now? What is it going to be 9 months from now? What's it going to be a year or 2 years from now? So if you have those concerns today, you can change it and move it in the opposite direction.
Congratulations and welcome. You made a wise decision to invest the time today to help ensure that your body is actually getting even better with age. Over 1,500 people registered for today, and you're one of the action takers that actually showed up for yourself because you're serious about getting results in this area, making your life getting even better as you get older, and taking action. You're an action taker, and you can help your body keep getting better every year. Now, because I became a VIP client of Robbie Stahl and have been using this system for over 20 years, I'm living proof that the Fitness Doctor systems work. I'm just so grateful that I go to bed every night feeling pain-free, wake up every morning pain-free. Everything works and nothing hurts. And I'm just so physically active as well. I work full-time in my career. I bike every day. I participate in high intensity water sports like wake surfing and sky skiing. And every year since I turned 70, on my birthday, I ski my age on a competitive slalom water ski course. This year, I skied 84 passes on a sky ski. Took over 2 hours, did it nonstop, covered over 30 miles on the water without letting go of the handle. All because of what Robbie has done to keep me fit, strong, healthy, and balanced for over 20 years. Thank you, Robbie. Well, would you like to be able to say that when you turn 84 years of age? Well, you might if you listen closely today and take action on what you're going to hear from this wonderful Fitness Doctor coaching show with Robbie Stahl and Dr. Trent Nessler, because that's exactly what today's discussion is about for you. And you're going to have two of the best people in the world to walk you through it. Now, Robbie Stahl is the founder and CEO of the Fitness Doctor. He's a world-renowned expert in how the body actually moves and functions after the age of 50. Now, for over 27 years, Robbie has transformed tens of thousands of people. His research team has analyzed over 1 million case studies, and they built the largest biometric research database in the world for our age group. Now, joining him in today's discussion is Dr. Trent Nessler. He has a doctorate in biomechanics and motor learning, and he invented the 3D movement assessment technology, and he's tested over 100,000 people, and he's worked at the highest levels of sports medicine. And now he's here for you. Get ready for a great session. Welcome your hosts, Robbie Stahl and Dr. Trent Nessler. It's all yours, guys.
Thank you, Joel.
Thank you, Joel. Appreciate you, my friend. And hello to you, our Fitness Doctor coaching show participant. Wonderful to have you here with us, and to all of our VIPs, bring it in. This is me giving you a big hug for those VIPs in attendance. And when we mention VIPs in our sessions, that's our clients, our personal clients who have chosen to work with us and be guided by us to be age-defying achievers. So welcome to this show. We're going to make it a really awesome choice that you're here today. And, if you're here today, something's probably changed for you and your body in the last 10 years. Maybe it's the neighborhood walks you used to do a little bit better at than you do today. Maybe it might be the hikes you used to go on. Maybe that's the Italy trip that you used to be able to take that's now a concern for you to be able to go on because you're not sure if you're going to be able to do the steps. Or maybe it's pickleball that you want to get back to, but you're not quite able to do it. Or maybe it's the grandkids that you want to get on the floor and play with them. There's probably something going on in your body, in your life, that you just wish could be a lot better physically. And really, that's the purpose of today, is to help you achieve that. And that hesitation that you feel in your body, the way you plan routes to avoid certain terrain, the activities you quietly stop doing, you haven't lost your motivation, you haven't lost your discipline. If you're like 99% of the people we've analyzed over the age of 50, you're losing your body mechanics. And that's really the big reason why people start to lose functionality as they age. You start to have an issue in the hip or the knee or the back or the shoulder or whatever it might be. And as a result, you stop doing some of the activities. And because of that, you stop stimulating your body to be as functional. So it's going to be Dr. Nessler and my job to help open your mind and connect with you on a heart level to start restoring a lot of those mechanics. Trent?
Yeah, Robbie, and thank you so much for having me on here. And thank you so much to everyone who's attending and our VIPs. And Robbie, you've hit the nail on the head. As I often refer to as a mature athlete myself. I'm 57 years old. You find out that things are moving a little bit differently. And that's one of the things I love about doing these webinars with you is really helping people to regain sometimes a lot of that lost function, independence. One of the most important things in life is maintaining your independence, especially as you move, into your more mature ages of 50 and 60 and 70. And a lot of people start losing that quickly, which really leads to a lot of loss of independence. And as most of us, we want to keep as independent as we can. And the beauty of the system that you're putting together, the system that you've put together, as well as your VIPs, as well as your entire team, the analysis that we're doing, et cetera, and what that does for people and helping them maintain their mobility, their stability, and independence in life is really game changing. A lot of times people think that, what, that's great, but that's not something that I can do. And the beauty of it is, it doesn't matter what your age is, the studies show you can do it. So super excited to continue to bring this message forward, Robbie, and thanks for having me today.
Well, Trent, before we go deeper with our super amazing participants here with us, let us ask you a question. Um, think about this. Do you feel like what do you feel like? And there's going to be an A, B, or C option, and you can go into the chat, which is that button on the bottom of your screen. It says chat. You can click that button that says chat, and a box will open, and you can write in your answer. Do you feel like you're aging 1 year at a time or 10 years in one? A would be 1 year at a time. I'm keeping up. That would be A. B would be 10 years in one. I'm losing ground faster than I should be. That would be a B. Or C, I'm not sure. I'm not sure anymore. I'm not sure where I would rank. So if you would please go into the chat. We would love to know where you feel like you're at. Where do you feel like you're at? Do you feel like you're aging 1 year at a time or more along the lines of 10 years in one? Option A, 1 year at a time. Option B, 10 years in one. Option C, I'm not sure. Go ahead and go into the chat, and if you would, share that with Dr. Nessler and I. We're just going to give a moment to see these responses coming in.
Seeing a lot of B's and C's there, Robbie.
Yeah. Yes,
Even
sir.
if you're an A on that list, you're going to get a lot of information today.
Yes. Yes. Well, boy, we're honored. I just want to share that again. We're absolutely honored to be with you, connecting with you on this subject, because this is a extremely important subject for us to be connecting on. And yes, I too am seeing a lot of B's and C's on here as well. You know,
I just saw
here's
somebody
the
put
thing.
A at 77. You go.
Fantastic. Fantastic. And by the way, all of our B's and all of our C's can absolutely become A's. Absolutely. It's absolutely possible for everyone. It really is. And Trent and I will share some uh, profound stories of people who have been in situations where
Mhm.
they're very likely to be B's, like aging 10 years or 20, 30 years in one in a month, even in some cases. and have overcome those things. We'll share that near more the end of today's Fitness Doctor coaching show. But when you think about, when you think about improving your body and your mechanics and all of those things, what's most important? If you would go back into the chat, share with us why, what's going on, what's causing you to not be sure, or what's causing you to feel like you're aging 10 years in one. Or if you're an A, hey, I'm aging, I'm aging great, I'm doing great at my age. What concerns might you have, right? Because we always have concerns, even if we're doing phenomenal. What things do you want to make sure you're leveraging so that you can continue getting great physical health results? Go into the chat if you would, please share those things with us. And again, we're going to give you a moment for us to take a look at those responses. B as for brain health, 10 in one. Physical health, 5 in one.
You know what I love, Robbie, is when you ask these questions and people will often, put the responses. And I think sometimes when people put responses, they look at that as like, this is what limits me. And the beauty of that, especially as a physical therapist, because I see people with pain all the time. I see them with back pain and neck pain and leg pain and knee pain and weakness and balance issues and all of that. The beauty of it is that you can improve it. It's what we do as a profession, and that's what the fitness doctor does as a group, is helping people overcome that stuff. So the beauty is, and what I want you to take away from today, and this is one of the things that I tell all of my clients, is we want you to walk away with today with some hope and understanding that what you feel today can be improved upon. No matter if you're an a B, or a C, you can always improve upon it.
Yeah, I'm just taking a look at all the restrictions falling, L3, S1, fusion surgery, cycling injuries slowing me down, beliefs age me along with their emotions, patellofemoral syndrome and osteoarthritis, keep learning through pain, spine issues. And you're right, Rivka, all of our body functionality does begin in our mind. In fact, right before this Fitness Doctor coaching show, we're just recording new training systems with Dr. Maritza here in our studio on how to retrain your mind for making your body even more functional. We're going to have more segments on the Fitness Doctor coaching show with that coming up. But since I saw that response, just thought I'd give that side note to everyone here. Need more flexibility and strength, recent knee pain, lower back incident, knee arthritis is slowing me down, slower breathing, retired and spending more time on exercising due to osteoporosis. Awesome. Good for you, Lisa. Taking care of yourself. That is fantastic. Well, if we think about it, a lot of these responses, a lot of these things have to do with, if we keep the terms simple for you, fixing your body, therapeutic aspects to fixing the body, right? And if we stop there, you're still gonna age at a level that you don't really want to. Okay, so fixing and therapy is great, and we usually need to start with those kind of things. But then there's the fitness aspect. But here's the problem. It's really in our industry, but then you're affected by it because of the choices that you have. What happens is that most PTs, so physical therapists, and of course this is not Dr. Nessler, he's just the opposite. He's a world-class expert, and that's why he and I have joined forces. But most PTs, they fix, or they'll look at some isolated thing of the body, but they don't necessarily ascend or continue this into fitness and full body functionality to really have full capability. And then on the fitness trainer side, which by the way, this is the reason why we have no fitness trainers on the Fitness Doctor team, is they're a little overzealous and they don't really have the biomechanical therapeutic lens. So what ends up happening is the trainers overpush, kind of break the body down, and cause dysfunctions. Because what happens is, you don't need us. You don't need us to get stronger. Hey, go out, lift weights, do motion and movement and mobility exercise. Your body's going to respond to it. But here's the problem is that usually what happens is even if you're getting stronger, you'll end up getting because you have misalignments, because you have dysfunction, you're going to drive that dysfunction. You're going to drive the increased strength into dysfunction. So you get better at being dysfunctional. Did you get stronger? Yeah. Could it even benefit your bone density positively? Yeah. But what happens is you hit a wall, you hit an issue. Eventually, you hit a ceiling, and then you start undoing all of your actions because it's difficult to overcome because you're not having a strong enough therapeutic protocol. So what we suggest is to take a deep biomechanical approach and a fitness approach and marry those two together. And that's really what, the best approach is bringing both of those aspects together. That's really the key details. Trent, what would you say on that subject?
Yeah, Robbie, and two, I've seen several different things in here about cardiovascular history, several comments about MS, several comments about, some neurological issues. And the beauty is, and again, there are things that you need to be aware of and things that need to be monitored. I saw somebody had a mitral valve replacement, things like that. Like, cardiac rehab is in the initial phase is very guided and very guided and very controlled. But there's a point which you get out of cardiac rehab, you get out of your traditional PT, where the next step is where we take place. And what I will say is that no matter what your diagnosis is, it is amazing how resilient the human body can be. One of the cases that I'll share a little bit later is a client of mine who has a demyelinating disorder, somewhat similar to MS, but it is different than MS. And that's somebody who thought that, traditional resistance training and weight training would not help him in his condition. And it has made life-altering changes. So again, one of the important things for me is we have discussions like this, is really giving people a sense of hope that there are solutions out there for you. It doesn't matter how debilitating of an issue that you're dealing with. And again, I can share a couple of stories today of some pretty debilitating injuries and things that have happened, and what can happen when you have the right direction, like that provided by the fitness doctor and our team, and what that can do for you from a mobility, stability, and long-term independent standpoint. So again, one of the most important things for me, for people today to come out of this, is that there is hope. You're not stuck. You have options available. And really, we're gonna give you a call to action later on. But really taking advantage of that call to action. Because if you are concerned today, what is it going to be 60 days from now? What is it going to be 9 months from now? What's it going to be a year or 2 years from now? So if you have those concerns today, you can change it and move it in the opposite direction.
Yeah, absolutely. And in fact, when you have the right approach to match your body, you can make what Dr. Nessler just shared happen in pretty much every case.
Mhm.
Pretty much every case. And when we looked at the responses here, I had a team member share with us, of the challenges, pain, arthritis, and joint issues were the highest. So that was 13 of the total responses. Mobility, walking, and movement limitations was 10. Then balance, stability, and fall concerns, 6. Muscle loss, weakness, and atrophy, 6. So those are the highest responses. And if you think about that, and even the other cardiovascular issues and all these issues, the human body is basically the way, after reading many physiological texts and doing a lot of research over the many years, I kind of boiled it down to, the human body is really kind of a metabolic processing station. And when your body's not metabolically functioning the way that it should and having good blood supply and oxygenation and cellular function, and I'm going to keep the science simple so we won't get into mitochondria and all that stuff, but good metabolism of your cells and functionality, then you're going to go south. You're going to more likely to end up in autoimmune conditions, circulatory, cardiovascular issues, pretty much all of the chronic disease states, that most things that cause people to die and lose their life, and oftentimes lose their life, their functional life, before they actually lose their mortal life. All of these things, these chronic diseases, are usually degenerative or inflammatory related. So when your body functions how it's ideally designed to function, then those aren't nearly an issue unless you have some extreme rare genetic disorder, which is not the case for 98% of people. So, but how do you get those results? How do you do that if you're having, if you have muscle loss, weakness, if you have all the pain, arthritis, mobility, walking, how do you get those results? Well, first of all, you need to use your body and use your body mechanics. Oh, but it's achy, but it's stiff, but I can't do the activity. Okay. Well, first of all, the very first step we need to do is we need to analyze your body mechanics. We need to look at your specific body mechanics situation and see, where do you have limitations? Where do you have weak tissues? Where do you have tissues that are restricted in terms of mobility? What is causing the mechanical dysfunction in the body that's preventing you from doing the physical work or making it feel good so you want to do it, to then be able to get the metabolic results from physical activity? That's really how this system works. So it really starts with having the right analysis and assessment of your body and your mechanics. That's why, for example, in our VIP training system, in every live session that our VIPs do, we analyze their body mechanics in every live session, and we give them feedback so they know exactly what's happening in their body. And it's really not actually about the exercise VIPs that you're doing. It's actually about you becoming mindfully aware, so that in everything you do and in daily life, plus other exercise, plus that exercise session you did, becoming more aware of how your body's aligning, because your brain leads that. So the first thing we need to do is we need to become detailed aware, and you need an expert that's really going to be able to see the details and the mechanics of where you're having that dysfunction, so that you can have the right approach and the right protocol for you personally. So here's what I want you to write down first. If you
Can I
really are
say one
serious
thing, Robbie?
about, yes,
Can I
sir.
say one
Go
thing
ahead.
about that? You know what? Because I think sometimes people may assume, that when you go into a fitness routine, that the traditional approach is, hi, Jane, we're going to start working out today. We're going to do chest, back, and shoulders, right? And there is no analysis. I will tell you, as a physical therapist, I see a lot of knees. None of them are the same. Everybody comes in with a little bit different presentation, and there is a reason that I look at everybody move. There's a reason that I do a deep dive assessment on everybody, because everybody is different. Your patellofemoral pain is not the same as the next person's patellofemoral pain, which is not the same as the next person's patellofemoral pain. It may be three completely different issues. And so, one of the things that I love about the system that Robbie has created, and I'm not trying to be a big sales pitch here, I'm really just stating fact, is that it does take a very holistic, whole body approach, which is quite honestly the way to go. And it helps you really dive in to seeing what are your deficits that can be addressed with the program, because it's going to be very different than the next person and the next person and the next person. So sorry to
So
interrupt.
here, no, you're good, brother. Here's what Dr. Nessler and I would like you to write down. Assessment before prescription, always, always, right? You should always have an accurate assessment of what's going on before prescription. So and ultimately what you're doing should be effective and it should feel good. And if it doesn't, we need to modify it for you personally. Right? So really the first step is assessment before prescription always. That's the way that you really are going to be able to tell what's going on with your body. And like Dr. Nessler just presented, four different patients, four different causes of patellofemoral pain, for example. It's really being able to dive in and look at those specifics. So, um, you know, where would you find the most powerful information for keeping yourself highly functional as you age? And most people lose function as a result of losing their body mechanics. Because what happens is you start to grow your can't do list, right? So 20, 30 plus years ago, just to make sure that everybody's in this case, 20, 30 years ago, you're doing more things. For most people, you had more activity. So for example, one big thing for Joel Weldon, who you saw at the beginning of today's Fitness Doctor coaching show, he doesn't stop doing stuff. I've been out on his houseboat with him. He has 100,000 pound houseboat. Okay. And we live in Arizona. And so we've gone to Lake Powell. Joel would spend 90 days a year on the lake. And he'd have all these, guys on the boat with him, young, fit, functional young men. And Joel, at 80, would tie up the houseboat to the rocks and tie up the full 100,000 pound houseboat, even in the rough water, by himself. And then, hey, Joel, can I help you? How long does it take to tie up the houseboat? And he'd say, well, it takes 4 hours if someone helps me, and it takes me 2 hours if I do it by myself. So, this is the kind of mentality of someone who stays functional always. And now you don't necessarily need to be tying up 100,000 pound houseboat, but you have your thing. Instead of not going on a walk, you might go on a walk. Well, if you did that every day, it's going to change your life. You might not be doing strength training. Well, if you start doing strength training and start doing it regularly, that's going to change your life, especially if you have an assessment first to know what is the right biomechanical approach and how should your body best function with that to get the best results, right? So if you're doing the right things, first we need to do the right things. How do we know to do the right things? By getting a proper assessment. Then from doing the right things, then we need to do those things right. But many people will approach fitness and exercise by they don't even have doing the right things. They just try to do things right. So they'll say stuff like, "Oh yeah, I know form's important." Yeah, form's important. But for example, you could have Dr. Nessler and I in your living room with you, you're exercising, and we make sure you do every exercise absolutely perfect. And let's say we train upper body and you do 7 different exercises for upper body. And most of them are pushing exercises. And you do them textbook perfect. We make sure you do it perfect. You could cause serious dysfunction in your upper body from that exercise session. Maybe not that exercise session alone, but if you keep doing that, you're going to have a lot of dysfunction. Why? Because it's not just about doing the things right. Like that, you did the exercise right. Oh, but there's a problem. We overloaded tissues that are pushing. We didn't respect the fact that you need to strengthen your pulling muscles even more than your pushing muscles. We didn't consider your rotator cuff. We didn't consider your postural alignment. We didn't consider your thoracic rotation. We didn't consider all these ideally functional components of your body. And as a result, even though you did the things right, you're still going to have dysfunction. So one of the big takeaways I want you to have from this coaching show together is understanding that just because you're doing exercise or just because you're an avid exerciser doesn't necessarily, like, yes, you get a lot of credit. Don't get me wrong. You get a lot of credit. It's awesome. You have a behavioral pattern. You're going to get metabolic function. You're going to have so many things right. But one of the big things we're all at risk, including Dr. Nessler, including myself, as we age, is our body mechanics going downhill. And unless we're addressing that by optimizing our mechanics, and first we need to analyze where we're at mechanically so we can be doing the right protocols to improve in that area. Trent, what's your thoughts on that subject?
Well, Robbie, when I listen to this, and if I were a viewer, I might be like, well, that sounds great, but what does that really mean for me? There is here. I'm actually in Nashville, Tennessee, so I'm not in warm Arizona. I'm actually in cool Tennessee. That being said, here, every time that I see somebody, I am constantly analyzing their movement, because whether you're a high level athlete, because I see a lot of high level athletes, whether you're a high level athlete or Joe Blow that's just gotten into fitness, is that you can develop these movement patterns that you've now done over decades that can be some of the cause of some of the pain patterns. And if I'm watching you do a squat, you could textbook, squat down, have good squat form, things like that. But if I'm not capturing when you do that, that you're shifting your weight off to one side, for example, it's one of the things that we look for. So you're shifting your weight off to one side. What that means is that every single time that you do a squat, not when you just do it loaded or you're doing it during your exercise, but when you're sitting on the commode, when you're sitting in your bed, when you're sitting in the chair, the thousands and thousands of reps of squats that you do, if done incorrectly with this lateral shift, then you're overloading one hip joint versus another. What does that mean? Well, you do that long enough, then you start wearing away articular cartilage in one hip versus the other hip. And that can mean the difference between having a total hip replacement and not having a total hip replacement. So when Robbie's talking about movement, it does make that big of a difference, because the cool thing about and the beauty of what the fitness doctor does is that by analyzing your movement, by putting together programming that does that, not only does it make you feel better, not only is it make you, not only does it help your strength, not only does it help your endurance, not only does it help your balance, but it also helps your long-term joint health, which is a major contributor to loss of independence later in life.
That's such a powerful point. Yeah, it's interesting. I think a lot of people might not realize that you're actually training your body all day long. So it's
Mhm.
not just an exercise. Exercise has a higher intensity, it has a fatigue component. So it's kind of like each movement and motion under fatigue counts for a little more than if it's done with a lighter intensity. That's why when we start with VIPs, we go light, the exercise lighter, it's at a lesser degree, and we want you to actually back off and stay comfortable. We don't want you to push yourself so that you can feel and connect and train your neuro mechanics into the body. And when you retrain your body mechanics, it's really about your brain, retraining your brain's awareness of positioning, alignment, and functionality so that not just in exercise, but in your everyday life, you can improve that functionality. All right,
Robbie,
let's
can
do
I say
something.
some, can I say something
Yes, sir.
based on that?
Yes, and then let's do something physical. Yes.
Yeah,
Yes, sir.
Robbie talks about the changes in the brain. And I think sometimes, again, if I was a listener, I try to place myself. If I was listening to this for the first time, I worked out my whole life. Like, this is just hokey pokey stuff, right? What I will tell you is we see that even on the high level athlete side. One of the things that's come out recently is a lot of really good, solid research in what happens immediately after an injury in your brain. So I'll give you a perfect example. With the March Madness and all of the hoopla around that. ACL injuries, most people know what those are. It's an anterior cruciate ligament injury, it's a knee injury. And what the studies are showing is that if you tear your ACL within 24 to 48 hours, there is a permanent change in the higher centers of your brain because your ACL gives your body input of where it's at in space. As soon as you remove that input, tear your ACL, you're no longer getting that input. It's like a broken cord, right? So what ends up happening is that immediately there is a change that happens in the higher centers of the brain. And if you don't train that, then what ends up happening is that when you go back to play, you're 3 times more likely to suffer an ACL injury. So if you don't train that, you're more likely to be re-injured because of this initial injury and this movement change that's happened in your higher centers of your brain. So you think about that, and then you start thinking about how many times have you had pain in your life? How many times did you twist your ankle, or maybe your knee was bothering you, or your hip was bothering you, or your back was bothering you? You just start to walk a little bit differently. And you're training your system that this is normal. What happens is you created this pattern in your brain that if that is not addressed, it doesn't just go away. Now, every time you squat down, you're shifting your weight off to one side. Now you're going to create problems for that side down the road. So this this concept, because you don't hear about this a lot in fitness, but in this concept and talking about the brain and how the brain impacts your movement is absolutely critical.
Trent, let's do some movement.
Let's
So
go for it.
we're, Trent's going to walk you through an assessment. So everyone who would like to participate, turn on your camera, okay? Turn on your camera if you'd like to participate. And you don't have to turn on your camera. It's an invitation to turn on your camera. And what we're going to do is we're going to put Trent front and center. He's going to walk you through. And Trent, go ahead and probably put your screen on gallery so you can see a lot of the awesome participants and VIPs here. And let's go ahead and I'll turn the mic over to you and lead us through this assessment.
Great. I got to first get the gallery. Hey there, guys. All right. So everybody stand up. So stand out of your chair. Okay. So the first thing you want to see is number one, how do you stand up and sit down? Okay. So all I'm going to ask you to do is sit right back down in your chair. And then you're going to stand right back up. Okay. So some of the things that we're looking for when you sit up and you sit down. Okay. Did you know that squats is one of the number one exercises to tell if somebody's at risk for falls over the age of 65? So your ability to be able to sit up, to stand up and sit down is absolutely critical. It's about controlling your body through these motions, okay? So a couple of things that you want to look for. Do you take your hands and place them on your knees, push yourself up? Do you, when you sit down and you start to sit down, kind of flop down towards those last 30 degrees or so, okay? If you do that, simply start working on that little piece. That little piece. Start to lean your body forward and not put your hands on your legs to push yourself up, and stand right up. And as you're sitting down, slowly let yourself down. That simple piece alone is going to not only improve your quality of how you squat, but it's also going to be able to control your center of mass as you ascend and descend. Okay. So that is one of the first things that you want to do is you want to improve your squat. Now one of the things that at the fitness doctor, what they're going to do is they're going to watch you squat, and they're going to look for other things that we see during those movement patterns. Okay. The next thing you want to do is stand with your feet shoulder width apart. Now, please make sure that you are safe doing this. Okay. Because I don't want anybody to fall or anything like that. Okay. So one thing you can do is if you feel like your balance is not that great, you can always put a chair in front of you that you can hold on to. Don't use a rolling chair because you don't want it sliding out away from you, right? So put a chair in front of you. And what you want to do is you want to stand up on one foot and put that foot down. How steady do you feel? Stand up on your other foot, put your foot down, okay? So this is not a real long balance test, but it kind of gives you some indication. Stand on one foot, put it back down, shift your weight, go to the other foot, put it back down. Now, is there a side that feels more stable than the other? Is there a side that gives you a little bit more anxiety, internal anxiety, like, ooh, I better not do that? Because if I stand on that side, I know I've got good balance. But if I stand on this side, I know my balance is not that great. Now, the great thing about that is that movement alone also will give us some indication of stability on one side versus the other. Now, again, one of the number one ways of determining if someone's at risk is how you stand on one leg, because human gait is one of human gait. You spend so much time on one leg. So one of the other things that you want to look for is that when you're walking, okay, so these are some indications to me that these are things that I need to work on. Okay. So number one, you want to see when you walk, do you walk like this, looking over at your toes when you walk? Because a lot of people do this, right? They look down at their toes as they're walking along. Okay, that is not a good postural position, number one, because I'm bringing my trunk forward. What do you think is going to happen if I trip? Where am I going to go? Well, I'm gonna fall on my head, right? So what's gonna happen is if I'm leaning forward like this, what's gonna happen is I'm gonna fall forward. The other thing is that when you walk, how far apart are your feet? Do you walk with your feet really close together like this? Because what happens is that a lot of times when people start to feel like they're losing balance, two things that happen. Number one is they shorten their base of support. People start taking really short, choppy steps. Okay. That is not a gait pattern that is beneficial for long-term stability. Okay. Because when you have these short little steps like this, you're actually more unbalanced than you are if you're taking longer strides. Longer strides give you larger base of support. So you can see that a lot of times when people start to walk with a walker, what do? They bend over like this and they get this short, choppy gait. They take little itty bitty steps as they're going. Well, number one, that's not how the human body is meant to move. And number two, it actually makes you more unstable. But let me go back for one more second. The thing that we did with the single leg balance, right? The beauty about balance is that it's not specific to side. If your right side feels really unstable and your left side feels really unstable, that might be a balance issue. But what I hear all the time from my clients is, you know what, I'm really stable on that side, but my balance on this side is really bad. Well, balance is not selective. It's not selective to side. So if you feel like when we did that test, that you felt a little bit more stable on one side and less stable on the other side, that goes back more to stability. It's more of a stability issue. And again, everybody has different weaknesses and tightnesses in their system. And that's where an assessment's really going to give a clear indication of where we need to focus on for you. Robbie?
I'm looking at Meg's question because I think it's relatable. Is this for people not a VIP of it? This is for everyone. This is for everyone. This is for humans. This is for humans with 2 feet and 2 legs, a brain, a heart, a structure inside that looks like this guy over here. This is for those people. If you got those components, this is for you. And Trent, you know, I think some people might think like, hey, all this is great because look, we have the A people, right? And probably the A people are probably also type A personality, but not everyone's type A personality. And at this point in life, we don't expect you to switch. So, uh, but we do expect if you're here that you're going to be taking care of yourself, you're going to be taking actions. And we've talked about belief, we've talked about some of the stories and people that we've seen transform. And I would love for our audience to hear some of the amazing stories of transformation for the purpose of, because here's the thing, ladies and gentlemen, your body is as a result of this thing. Your body does not function as a result of this thing. It's not the way it
Yep.
works.
Yep.
It's this thing that leads this thing. It's just in the technical mechanical nature, that's true. Like how you move, how you position, how you feel, how you function, the things that Trent just talked to you about in terms of posture, leaning forward, how do you feel on one leg, all this stuff here, not here. You got to be
Mhm.
aware here. So, like when you have the proper assessment, we're really looking at how does your brain, or how have actually we're looking at a snapshot of your recent history and long history as well. How has your brain been interpreting how your body should be doing movement is what we're really looking at.
Mhm.
And also this thing, your belief, your emotion, your thoughts, right? So we love that you're here with us because we're shaping an environment of success for you. Environment of success, no matter what your age is, you should be able to continue doing all the things you love to do and even improve with age. As Joel Weldon says, you should be getting better, not older, right? And so, Trent, for it to help drive that point home, can you please share some real world examples of what is possible?
Yeah, and for anybody who hears these stories, if you'd like more information on this, I can send you to some particular podcasts, because one of these cases, he was on Marcus Luttrell's podcast, which is a very famous podcast. He's going to be on Sean Ryan's podcast coming up in May, because his story is so remarkable. Now, keeping in mind, Robbie talked about mindset. And that's one of the things that we talk about with the clients that I see. I have an unusual patient population. I'll just say it that way. A lot of my folks are high level athletes and special forces. So I see a lot of, for some reason, I see a lot of special forces folks. And we talk about a warrior mindset and really having your number one first thing that I talk with all my clients is instilling hope. You've done the first step, simply logging onto this call. You've already somewhat made a commitment to yourself, or those that you love, that you want to find out more information and you want to do something, right? So that's the first thing. And what I want you to do is that list that Robbie asked you to write out today, because we're going to give you a couple more things to put in that list. I would say put at the top of that list hope, because today you're being given hope. But it really is about mindset. So the first story is a gentleman who served all of us in the U.S. military. He worked in Delta Force, which is special forces. He served in Syria, Afghanistan, Iraq. He was is a special forces sniper. They call it separated from the military, probably about 2 years ago, and was home with his wife, and his 1-year-old child were in bed together. He heard somebody breaking into his car, confronted them from his window of his bedroom, and they ended up firing 20 rounds from an AK-47 into his home. The first bullet struck him in the pelvis, shattered his pelvis, cut across his spinal cord, and he was immediately lost sensation and motor function of his right leg and his left leg. And so he described it on the podcast as he was a big dolphin flopping around the room trying to cover up his wife and child. It's a very tragic story. Unfortunately, he was a part of the VA system. Not unfortunately, but he's a part of the VA system. Wasn't given a lot of guidance. He was basically told, "This is your new life. This is how you need to consider your new norm." So he came in here very first day. He still has a bullet at L3, L4, still lodged in his spine. It's too close to his spinal cord for them to take it out. So he still has a bullet in his spine, and he's walking in here with a cane. He can barely walk. He's got function of one leg, partial function of one leg, very limited function of the other leg. But he made his way in here. He was determined that he was going to walk in here. His very first day in here, um, the very first thing that I told him is, you know what? I see your leg moving. We can absolutely work with that. Um, Simply by instilling that hope in him that very first day, he walked out. As he was walking out, he turned around and he looked at me and he just had tears going down his eyes. And he's like, you know what? You're the first healthcare provider that's given me hope in this entire situation. That was February of last year. And December of this same year, 2025, and he's still with me today, December 2025, he was running 3 miles in an 850 clip. Now, this was a long and hard journey, but to have that kind of an impact in such a short period of time in life, that's a short period of time. I know it's almost a year, but still considering the fact that he came in, a bullet had cut across his spinal cord, and the fact that he was able to take that and he had the right mindset. All he needed was a little bit of hope, someone to believe that this can happen. And today he's running 3 miles at an 850 clip. Who does that? And is that unusual? No, not necessarily. I'm going to give you another example, less extreme, okay? But this is a dear friend of mine. I don't see a lot of neuro patients in my clinics, but he's a dear friend of mine. He's 52 years old. I had to write it down because I always pronounce it wrong. He has Charcot-Marie-Tooth. That is a demyelinating disorder that typically starts distally. So it starts in your fingertips and your hands, starts in your toes and your feet, and it progresses up over time. Usually by the age of 50, people are either in braces or they're in a wheelchair. John is 52 years old. And he came to me because he's been working out his whole life. He has, as far as that diagnosis goes, he has really been able to off-put the progression of the disorder in several different ways. Number one, he is very, very diligent about his diet, and he is very, very diligent about his exercise. But at this point, at this time, he was having a big problem with his balance because when you de-innervate your calves, that gives you a lot of balance. And when that starts to go away, this actually started to significantly impact his ability to be more independent. And he's an independent guy. He's a type A personality. If you ever met him, you would definitely know that. But what we were able to do in a very short period of time, just with doing a movement-based approach, doing analysis on him, and putting him through an aggressive program, John now, one of the biggest things that he wanted to do is he's a prideful guy. He wanted to be able to put his own clothes on without having to have his wife help him put his pants on, put his shoes on, put his shirt on. And now he told me the other day that he was standing in his closet putting his shirt on. He's like, I haven't been able to do that in 15 years. He's walking independently. He's walking on grass for the first time in 5 years. Now, you don't realize how impactful that is until you can't ever walk on grass again because you fall, right? And the fact that he is able to remain stable to not only improve his quality of life in his home and his feeling towards, the way he would describe it to me is it made him feel more like a man that he could actually dress himself, right? Instead of having someone dress him. So, those are two ends of the spectrum. We had a really high level and then not so high level. But both of them go back to the main thing. And number one is that they were both analyzed. We took a look at them. We wanted to see where their limitations were. They wanted to see how they're moving. And then we designed a specific program for each one of those to help address those issues. And
Okay.
if someone can be shot in the spine and have a bullet go across their spinal cord and give them paralysis, or if someone has Charcot-Marie-Tooth at 52 years old and they can both make progress, then you can too. So again, what I want you to do is I want to take that hope and put it to the top of your page and write it right above that first thing that Robbie had you write down. Because no matter what your case is, when you get the right setting, when you get with the right people like the fitness doctor, you can make life-changing results.
And for you, our beloved audience member, how do we start with that? How do we start working towards results like that? We start working towards results like that by a proper assessment first. And Trent, how is it possible to do an assessment online? How is it
I do
possible to
it.
do a video-based assessment?
I do that every day, and that's the beauty of today's technology, is having the ability to watch how you move is pretty remarkable. And to be able to have someone who can actually look at your movement is very telling. So with today's technology, watching you go through a few movements, I mean, I just gave you a very brief example, and quite honestly, that's not typically what I'd be looking at. I'd be looking at you squat. I'd be looking at a lot of different movements, but how you move, simply seeing how you raise your shoulder. If you're doing this when you raise your shoulder up, when you're going up to grab something, that tells me a lot about your shoulder. Okay. I don't have to be a world renowned expert to know that, you know what, you probably have some limitations in your shoulder. We probably need to address that. So there's so many
And what
things that you can tell simply by how somebody moves, and simple little
and
things like that that makes a big difference.
And so what we would like to provide you is we have a very special opportunity. Okay, if you would like to do the perfect first step, right, which is a proper assessment and seeing how is your body currently functioning? Where do you need help? What's going on physiologically? What's going on mechanically in your body? What's the most important protocol? Where do you have issues in your body? The mobility restrictions, the joint issues, whatever it might be going on. We would love to meet with you in a private consultation. You'll meet with one of our fitness doctor experts. They're an orthopedic specialist in physiotherapy as well as an anti-aging fitness specialist. So they only work with people over the age of 50. You can attend a private consultation. It's a 90-minute consultation devoted specifically to you, a deep dive consultation. And we can decide from there, from the consultation, we'll decide if it makes sense to work together moving forward. We're scientists, we're not salespeople. We didn't figure all this stuff out by going to sales school. We figured out all this stuff by doing deep biomechanical research. So if you'd like to meet with one of our fitness doctor experts and take a deep dive on your body so we can determine what is your next best steps, we might end up working together. We might end up being able to help you personally, guide you through to really improve your functionality and make it so that life can be more on a thriving level, not just a surviving level. If you would like to do that, normally our consultations are $297. And if you would like to do that, we're going to give you a special $97 consultation offer. It's now in the chat. So if you go to the chat, bottom of your Zoom screen, and you click the chat button, you'll see that special opportunity where you can schedule yourself in for a private consultation with our fitness doctor experts. And then if it makes sense to work together, by the way, on the back end of that, what happens after the consultation? First of all, you're going to get a level of information and deep dive analysis that you're not going to get anywhere else. That's the first thing that's going to happen. If we decide to work together, then guess what? Mr. Dr. Nessler and I, over the last 10 years, have developed, and really over the last, with Trent's background and research and my background, it's kind of combined. It's almost over the last 45 years combined. Okay. We've developed a whole VIP training system, which our VIPs go through. So you can get access from our expert team that guides you through, that do an analysis on you in every live session. Dr. Nessler is actually a huge role in collaborating and developing our entire VIP training system. So you can go through all of our best protocols on the back end of that. The first step, though, is just scheduling a consultation. So if you go to the chat right now, you'll see that special button, and it says, this is the link for scheduling your private consultation. Patricia, can you walk us through how that form works? Can you please come on and do a screen share and walk us through, just in case, because I know not everyone here is a tech Zoom expert. So first, let's make sure you know how to go to, and there's the pretty Mrs. Stahl. Hello. And so what you would do is you go to the bottom of your Zoom screen, you'll see a button that says chat. You click that button, and then you'll see the chat open. And then in the chat, it'll say, this is the link for scheduling your private consultation. Patricia, how does that form work?
Hello. We're not Full Body Fix, we are live coaching show audience. And hello, Trent. Okay, I'm going to share my screen with you now, and I'm going to show you how you navigate this form. Are we seeing your private consultation?
Yes, ma'am, we are.
Awesome. And you are going to be seeing the dates and the times in your own time zone when you open this form. Right now, you will see on my time zone. So if you are in Arizona, you are going to follow along with me. If you're not, you're going to be seeing the dates and the times in your own time zone. Now you're going to see that every number that has a circle, those are the options that you can choose. And here we have an arrow on the top next to March that you can choose options for April. So these are the options that we have: April 1st, 2nd, and this last days of March. Now let's say that we want to choose the 26th. We are going to choose a time that works for you. Choose the 8 a.m., press next, and you're going to put your name, email, phone number, and then here is in the second phone number field. If you would like to receive text messages, you repeat the same thing here. Nope. Oh, and let's talk about the code, the country code. So if you don't have an out of field and you're in America, you're going to put a 1. So you're going to start with a 1 for your country code and then your phone number. And if you're not in America, just type in your country code, no need of a plus sign. The plus sign is automatically added. Then you're going to, if you have link, your credit card is going to be saved here. If you don't, you just fill out your credit card information in this form and schedule event. That's it. It's this simple to schedule for your private consultation with the Fitness Doctor team. Robbie and Trent.
Awesome. All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, and all of our wonderful VIPs, bring it in. I'm a guy that's all about love, care, and connection. So, this is me giving you a big hug to end this Fitness Doctor coaching show. For those of you who have not scheduled a consultation and you're not a VIP, for as a VIP, you saw how we take care of VIPs. But if you're not a VIP, schedule a consultation. That's your first major step to get this level of guidance and support from your Fitness Doctor team. Go ahead and schedule that through the chat. If you have not scheduled yet, we're going to keep the meeting open for that purpose. So if you click on the chat button, bottom of your screen, you'll see this is the link for scheduling your private consultation, and you'll have a 90-minute with a Fitness Doctor expert where we'll analyze your entire body mechanics, do a full video analysis. We'll talk to you about your goals, your challenges, your challenges, obstacles, all of those things, and we'll help you move forward. For all of our VIPs, it's an honor to be on this journey with you. Lots of love to each of you. Turn it over to you, Dr. Nessler, before we exit.
Yeah, and again, I'm going to go back to the thing that I said in the very first part of this presentation, and that is, number one, if you're here today, you've made the first step in your overall commitment. You've already made the commitment. For our VIPs, you've already made that commitment. For those that are maybe not members, you've done the first step in kind of committing to yourself and committing to your health. The second thing I want to make sure that everybody has at the top of their list is that there's always hope. There is always hope. Like, you know, doesn't matter what what's going on physiologically, diagnosis wise, etc. whether it's, a devastating, coming off of a cancer treatment, or if it's just I have pain. Like, that's a big spectrum. But the cool thing about that is that with this type of programming, fitness in general, you're going to do so much, not only for your physical capabilities, not only, whether you're coming off cancer, you're coming off a neurological disorder or whatever. This is the same thing that we do in rehab, is we progress you along that fitness journey, getting you back to a better quality of life. So I just want you to walk away from this understanding that there's always hope. And you did the first step today of realizing that hope, and that is by joining us today. So I appreciate that. Thank you so much, Robbie, and the entire Fitness Doctor team for having me on here. I always love and enjoy this. So thank you all very much.
Lots of love to each of you. We'll see you in our next session together. See you soon.
Remember, while you're human, you are also unique. So it's important to always consider the specifics of your own body. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, make sure to check out the next one right here. And you can click right here below to subscribe to our channel to get the very best content from our Fitness Doctor experts.